This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to the Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast. Since 2015, I am here at the studios of Pod Populi, Podcast for the People. I am at the one in Scottsdale, Arizona. I think I mentioned last time I was here, Scottsdale is the #2 location, destination for bachelorette parties in America, behind Nashville. And so if you get disturbed by a bunch of inebriated women riding by going, woo, on a trolley, hey, that's Scottsdale. I think we need to break down bachelor and bachelorette parties on this show and the behavior, because I have some thoughts, because I usually have some thoughts. So let me line up some guests who are well-versed in such depravity. So last episode, as I mentioned, it was our 400th show. Honestly, it's probably there's probably 40 or so more. I think a couple dozen of the early ones from our Corolla Digital and our Podcast One days got sort of lost as you transfer feeds all over the place. That was the early days of podcasting. Things weren't quite as seamless, but c'est la vie. And normally when you hit a big round number, you reflect and you opine and look back and maybe you commemorate. And I really didn't want to do that other than to say, in the podcast scheme of things, it's an awful lot of shows. Some of you might say, it's too many. It's enough. And we try to slice this apple a lot of different ways and keep it fresh and moving forward, because a lot of things change along the way. Society changes. I've certainly changed. A lot of my perspective has changed, but the main reason we're able to do this podcast so many times is because doing it so many times, those repetitions bring a degree of clarity. You're able to formulate thoughts and philosophies and opinions, and that clarity brings comfort. And that comfort brings confidence and probably to some degree competence. We're able to have these conversations on this show because we've had so many of these conversations. And, I'm just as excited and grateful to have these conversations as I was 400 or so episodes ago, maybe even more so. Because the repetition has deepened the passion, and I'm passionate about the subject matter, and I'm curious about the content. And as you've heard me say before, every great conversation is formed at the intersection of passion and curiosity. So that's what I want to get into, the concept of repetitions. Been doing this podcast a long time, reasonably competent at it. But how long did it take me to get that way? I mean, all I'm doing is talking, right? I don't know. Different skill set, different mindset. I think when I look back, it took me 6 months, 25 or 30 episodes just to kind of understand it all. I'd done a little bit of radio before. Podcasting is different from radio. It took me 100 episodes or so just to do one by myself, like I'm doing now, just to sit here and say something and understand that me talking and you listening is in fact a conversation, and hopefully a conversation worth having. So a lot of you guys are probably familiar or have heard of Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers, one of his books. He writes a lot of books. He's very prolific. Good job, Malcolm Gladwell. But his book, Outliers, where he put forth a scientific analysis and this sort of subsequent theory about the 10,000-hour rule, which, broken down simply, it hypothesizes that mastery comes after someone practices one skill, like juggling or archery or the violin, for 10,000 hours. Thinks the time equals proficiency. And I both completely agree with this premise, and I completely disagree with this premise. Yes, you put in the time and the work and you will get the result, but nope, if you can't paint like I can't and you can dip your brush for 1,000,000 years, you probably won't get any better than at your art. You know, go to one of those painting and wine places. I could sit there every single night for a decade. Probably not going to get as good as the person sitting next to me. So let's put this in the context of dating and relationships, which was why you are here either for the first time or the 401st time. I do believe that repetitions equal some degree of ability. If you haven't dated a lot, you probably aren't going to be very good at the nuance and the ebb and flow and situations that surround being one-on-one with other people, another person. And there's lots of very successful people who put their careers first, and they are masters of the universe and have a ton of trouble dating because they simply have devoted a lot of time to their career and not a lot of time to their dating life. Which is why we've always said, caveat emptor, when you're trying to get hooked up through a matchmaker. If these so-called successful men and sometimes women are hiring somebody to help them find love because they've been too focused on their big-time job to spend their weekends, scrolling through Tinder or hitting the nightclubs, those guys and gals simply might not have the skill set to ever get through an awkward first dinner, much less the challenges of a relationship. Just haven't done it enough times. Same with recently divorced people. They might have had a lot of repetitions of being with one partner, but that was only one partner for a long time, clearly didn't work, and that's what they're used to. They haven't tried all of the Baskin & Robbins 31 flavors, if you know what I mean. Sidebar, fun fact. Do you know why Baskin & Robbins has 31 flavors? 31 flavors when they started that back in the day, like 70 years ago. Each one represented a different ice cream flavor of the month. So every day of the month, you're supposed to have a flavor. 31 days, 31 flavors. And they have uniquely and sort of stubbornly stuck to that in a world of very varied and very specific tastes. So props to Baskin & Robbins. And props to you guys for sticking with me for all these episodes. That takes reps. We're going to have a whole bunch more on this subject, maybe even try some ice cream. But we have to pay for the ice cream around here. So I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to dive deeply into all of it right after this. And we are back, and we're talking about the concept of and the value in repetitions when it comes to dating. And I've had people say to me, you've had so many girlfriends. Why would you be someone who would be good at a relationship? And my answer is because I've had so many girlfriends. That's a good thing. The repetition. It brings some level of proficiency. I mean, it absolutely does. I've learned from my mistakes, most of them. I have seen their mistakes and understand most of them. I've ridden the relationship highs and the lows and the waves and the moods, and it has value because I'm not mad or bitter or jaded by any of it. I'm seasoned by it. I did it and did it again and did it again, and you keep going, and you should be too. You should be doing something like that too. You got to stop looking at, I've had 200 dates and none of them worked out. That's a good thing. Those 200 dates are going to increase the odds of the next one working out, as long as you aren't getting bogged down in the past and the fact that those 200 dates are negative. They're positive. You did it 200 times. So every breakup, every conversation, every plate of mozzarella sticks that you shared, every miscommunication, at some point, those reps add up and give you some degree of expertise that you at least know what to expect and how to handle a certain situation or a new scenario. But obviously, it's not just a matter of going on dates or spending time with someone that will make all the difference. Just like simply sitting down and plucking guitar strings 10,000 times will turn you into Slash. Probably won't. You have to understand what you're doing or what you have done, why you're doing it, what you want to get out of it, what works, what doesn't, what sounds right, what feels right, what is right, and what isn't. Simply sitting in a classroom won't make you smarter. You have to absorb and engage and put forth some effort and understand what you're listening to and learning. So what takes reps when it comes to dating? Let's start with the dates themselves. Some people have really never had that many first dates. You know who one of those people is? Brian Christopher Howie. Me. I'm one of those people. I've had way, way more girlfriends than I have had first dates. And you're like, how is that possible? How is your numerator higher than your denominator? Because I think most of the people I have dated, I knew in some other capacity first. And then before you knew it, we were hanging out, and then we would get food, or you want to get a drink, and then you evolve from there, and here we are. Almost none of the traditional, hey, can I get your phone number? Or, hey, can I take you to dinner sometime? It was very, very rare, at least for me. Never had a job interview either, so I'm not the person to ask about these things. That being said, don't be me. Have first dates. Lots and lots of them. It's easier to go out with somebody when you've worked with them for 18 months. It's harder to do it cold turkey. Just like, hey, you're cute. You want to go out sometime? Hard to do. But if you do it many, many times, statistically, all of those first dates will lead to second dates and third dates simply because your behavior and expectations will become more routine. You will relax. You will be a better dater. And I think the more you do it, I think eventually you'll make better choices in who and how you date. And I don't think it's about who you might like. It's about what you believe you can handle or what will make you relax and be yourself or what kind of activities turn you on mentally, physically, familiarity. You're on a date and you're like, oh, this feels normal because I have done this before. And that normalness will break down some walls that allow excitement to flourish. I really do believe that. I brought up the job interview thing. It's the same with actors and actresses who audition. Auditioning is a completely different skill set than actually acting. And a lot of actors and actresses, they go to Hollywood or they go to New York and they have not learned the art of the audition, and it hurts their career. Auditioning takes practice and repetitions and rejection. If you audition once, you get the part, you're on CSI for 10 years, you probably haven't had a lot of auditions. But if you're, going the normal route and you're learning how to audition, your acting talent might not improve until you actually get the part on CSI. But until then, the more you audition, the better you should get at it, and that will lead to the work. A plus B equals C. And that's the most crucial activity on a first date, besides the sex, of course. The conversation. An audition is essentially a conversation. I'm talking, people are listening. Playing another person, so be it. Job interview should be a conversation. Question, answer, conversation. The date surrounds, other than those weird dates where you sit in the dark, you don't say anything. Most dates revolve around the conversation. And I honestly think I'm a better conversationalist since I've been a podcaster. Everybody should get a podcast because you learn the ebb and flow and rhythm and hopefully how to listen. I've never been a great listener. I've become a slightly better listener since I've had a podcast. So consider this podcast my 401st date with you guys. I'm a huge introvert, except when I'm on a microphone or on a date. It's weird, but I've had the reps. Not necessarily the first dates, but second, third, fourth, fifth, lot. Helps. Not scared by anything, not thrown by anything. I can work through the icky awkwardness that's going to throw a lot of people off because I've done it. Didn't get married at 23. Sorry. Helps out with the dating. And repetitions don't end when the relationship begins. That's when the conversations hopefully continue, and then the experiences begin. repetition of experience. We travel together. We hike together. We shop together. We brunch together. We parent together. We dream together. The more you do those things in sync and in companionship and in partnership, the better the relationship should become. Regular habits, routines, all of them, over and over. That's how the closeness forms and maintains, the repetitions of that. And the routine should never get routine. Noun versus adjective. Do it together, do it often, do it again. Repetitions. You'll improve yourself, I think, and your relationship, or at least you should. The good parts of it. Not the, oh my God, we have this same conversation over and over again. It's, we had this conversation over and over again and made the changes to make the conversations have some value. Positive reps. Almost everything that has positivity in your life comes from a sense of repetition. Practice makes perfect. Go to the gym one time, it has no value. Go every day for a month, has a lot of value. Go every day for a year, huge value. Same thing. Go on a date once. All you probably had at best is a good sushi roll and hopefully some dessert and maybe an awkward hug at the end. Go again and again with the same person or with a different person, and I think you'll gain heightened awareness and you'll improve your social skills and you will get comfortable and curious in conversation. Of the, 401-ish episodes of this show, we have probably dealt with don't sit home in big blinking letters. Don't sit home more than any other topic. We've pounded that in the ground. Unless the UPS guy is coming over to your house and you're going to end up dating him, the answers are not in your house. We've dealt with that more than any other topic, I think. And for over 100 episodes of this show, that's exactly what most of you were doing. 2020, 2021, 2022, that range. That's exactly what you're doing. Mostly by choice, I believe. Sitting home. Watching the world pass you by. Watching life pass you by. Having opportunities pass you by. If you're going to listen to this podcast, go outside and listen to this podcast. Do something. And the bottom line of during that 100 episodes, 2 years or so of inactivity, that's what you missed out on. You weren't getting any repetitions at anything positive. You were getting negatively reinforced in your behavior. And the bottom line, as we'll probably touch on this 20 or 30 or 50 more times on the road to 500 episodes, which is just a pit stop on the way to 1,000. We're going to get to 1,000. Is do it. And then do it again. Do it often. I think you'll do it better. And that's how you get where you want to go. Where do we want to go? Back on the road, at least for a few, at least for a handful of live shows. You think we've done a lot of podcasts at 401? We have done 427 live great love debates in theaters and comedy clubs and music venues all over the place. We've done 128 cities in 13 countries. We are back at it. One of the cities we have never done because it got wiped out during those aforementioned 2-year period where you were sitting home. Raleigh, North Carolina, we will be at Good Nights Comedy Club. Go to greatlovedebate.com. The tickets should be on sale and should be there. Right here, right down the street, Phoenix, Arizona, or actually Tempe, Arizona, I think it's on sale. We're doing a show at the Tempe Improv. First time here in the Valley of the Sun since 2016. We have not done a show here in a long, long time. It's due. Things are heating up here in the desert. And maybe we'll get to the bottom of why there's so many bachelorette parties here. Shoot us an email, greatlovedebate@gmail.com. Don't just shoot one, shoot many. Repetitions. Send lots of emails over and over, and maybe we'll answer one on one of the upcoming episodes. And please like, share, review, and follow and review this podcast. Your reviews, even after 400 shows, mean a lot to me and mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem because, as always, at The Great Love Debate, we Never stop making love. See you next time.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.